It will shock you to the core.
Finally, another podcast about
Godzilla!
and all his giant monster friends.
This could be the end of civilization.
Yeah, probably. So join your hosts, Chris Chikini and Chris Casares.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're listening to the podcast. From Odo Island. Welcome to the podcast from Odo Island. Check us out on Twitter at Odo Island Pod. You can find us there, as well as our OIWF shenanigans. I am Smooth Chris, and with me as always is the man who's a cyborg, and I don't care, I still love him. Slick Chris.
Chris Sora.
So this week we get a fun little episode for you. We're back to the Showa era. We're closing it out with the Terror of Mechagodzilla. We still have more Showa era stuff to do, but
we're closing out the Showa era.
Yeah, this is just the last movie of the Showa era for Godzilla. Terror of Mechagodzilla came out in 1975, the year of our Lord, and you didn't laugh. There we go. That's the reaction I was going for. Please clap.
I wasn't trying to no sell it. It seemed like you were on a roll, and I just didn't want to cut you off.
Easy there, warrior. So yeah, we watched this movie this week after getting out of our legendary movies. We went back to the Showa era. Good move, smart move by us. Chris, when was the first time you saw this movie?
Why? Good question. So this is one of the first Godzilla movies I ever saw when I first became a Godzilla fan. So, Godzilla vs. Megalon was the first one I ever saw. And right around that time, which was like 1993 or 1994, something like that, I was like 10. TNT used to do a Monster Vision marathon. And I taped, and I still have, my VHS tapes of the entire marathon. And, like, that marathon would consist of Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Monster Zero, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla. Oh, no, Godzilla's Revenge and Terror of Mechagodzilla. So I got all those movies in, like, one day, and I taped them all. And commercials and all. And I rewatched most of those movies quite a bit over and over and over again as a kid. But I watched Terror of Mechagodzilla probably the most. I don't know. I watched them all a lot. But Terror of Mechagodzilla, I think I probably went back and watched the most. So that is my long-standing history with this movie. Yours?
First time I saw this movie was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, we don't have... I feel like a lot of the ones that we still have left to do are ones that you haven't seen yet, or you at least haven't seen in a long, long time, so...
I have never seen this movie. I'm pretty sure I've never seen the 90s Mechagodzilla movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to watch it to make sure. And I'm pretty sure I've never seen Son of Godzilla, but I've seen many clips of it, so I'm aware of the movie and I know the gist.
Gotcha. Well, I guess
I'm definitely more familiar with Son of Godzilla than the '90s Mechagodzilla movie or this movie.
Yeah, I guess they're
until now.
I guess Son of Godzilla and the '90s Mechagodzilla movie are. For the longest time, they weren't really readily accessible. Terror of Mechagodzilla really wasn't either. But then it started getting released more frequently on DVD and kind of became a little bit more easier to obtain. But I don't remember there being like a major VHS release until maybe sometime later in the 90s or more in the mid-90s. But anyway, I guess before we get into our breakdown of the movie, we'll set the table with the old background piece.
Sure.
So, in trivia and whatever, history, trivia, setting the table, background shit, whatever. But
I like you setting the table because it makes me feel like you're my butler.
I'll bring you tea at the end. So,
Thank you, Ferguson.
as you already said, this came out in 1975. Japanese kaiju cinema was, well, Japanese cinema in general was kind of on the decline, but kaiju cinema in particular had pretty much bottomed out. Monster movies weren't really popular anymore. They had kind of been taken over by like shows like Ultraman and all the other kind of similar like Ultraman and like Zone Fighter-esque type shows, where it was more like the TV shows, like where hero characters were fighting giant monsters, and those were extremely cheap to make and extremely popular, and making like a big budget monster movie was just not bringing in money in anymore. And at the time, a movie called Submersion of Japan was like one of the most successful movies in Japan in modern history. And that wasn't a monster movie; it was still a special effects movie. But that was like a major hit, and like that had kind of like, it was like a big budget disaster movie at the time, and like that was kind of like what was in vogue, and like Western disaster movies were also like making huge tons of money when they were getting imported to Japan. And so there was some question if they were even going to make another Godzilla movie. They ultimately decided to do Terror of Mechagodzilla because Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla had been successful enough to warrant at least one more go, and but wanted to kind of fit with the tone of like these more serious disaster movies that were kind of popular at the time. So that brought back Ishiro Honda to direct Terror of Mechagodzilla, and also Akira Ifube to do the music, which was supposed to kind of help with like a more serious, darker tone, which Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is kind of getting there, but this definitely becomes a lot darker. So
sure.
This is the first Godzilla movie to have a woman writer, which was Yukiko Takayama. She wrote. Ishiro Honda, like, she was an amateur writer in the sense that she was working for Toho, and Toho was doing like kind of like an inter-office like writing contest essentially, like. And so her script won. She was, like I said, she was like a newer screenwriter, and it sounds like her and Ishiro Honda kind of worked together to fine tune the script. And his only, I think I wouldn't even call it a critique, but like the only comment about her script was just that like all the ideas were very good. They just kind of needed to be like given more direction. It was like an idea would be started, but it wouldn't really follow through, and he just kind of helped her kind of follow her ideas through, because he was close to retirement and she was brand new. When it came to America, it was pretty heavily edited. It's like the version that I saw on TV was obviously the very heavily edited one, and that includes cutting the infamous fake boobs shot that's when Katsura is getting worked on.
Sorry.
The scene where the commander is the alien commander is whipping the other black hole aliens who let like the prisoners escape, that was cut. Stuff like the execution of the prisoner who escapes, that was all cut. And and probably the one of the saddest cuts was that scene where Titanosaurus maybe kind of sort of squishes those annoying teenage kids right before Godzilla shows up. That was also cut, amongst several other things. A lot of like anything involving gunplay was shot. Like in Katsura's suicide sacrifice was like really re-edited in like a very strange way. Her shooting herself in the side was cut, so it's just like she has like her final line, and then all of a sudden Mechagodzilla just like shuts down. It's a little jarring. And then also there was a Henry Saperstein United Pictures of America TV version that you can actually find online every now and then, but sometimes it gets released in certain home releases. He made like his own prologue to Terror of Mechagodzilla, which is 6 minutes long, and it gives like the very kind of like loosely accurate history of like the Showa series. and but it only uses clips from, like, a handful of movies, and it has like an overdub explaining how, like, Godzilla basically first showed up. He's a villain, and then ultimately, like, he starts to become protective of the Earth because he views it as, like, his territory, and then it gets into, like, all these, like, alien invasions, and, like, as the alien invasions increase, like, Godzilla's protective nature of the world increases because he doesn't want these aliens coming to fuck up his territory. So, really,
I'd have to see this.
Yeah, it's easy to find on YouTube. I don't know. It's fine. It's cool. Like I said, it's not, like, super accurate, but, like, it uses clips from, like, what Henry Saperstein still had the rights to at the time, which is basically, like, Monster Zero, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, and a couple other movies. So it's like it's just a random clip montage. But
sure.
And then finally, as kind of taking it back to what I said at the beginning about how times have changed in Japanese cinema. This is the lowest attended Godzilla movie, and while it was not explicitly planned to be the end of the Showa series, ended up being, because it just it was a significant drop off in the last movie and just a really low attendance record all around. So. But
makes sense.
That.
But they had a long 20-year run, so that's nothing to shake a stick at. That was quite the accomplishment, really.
Yeah, you got 21 years and 14 sequels. not a bad run.
So nothing to be ashamed of there. Even if this movie was a box office failure, it was part of in the grand scheme of things. Its legacy is much more positive, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I think it was just a sign
just
of
the times. Yeah,
and it wasn't like the plug was pulled immediately. Like, there's a whole slew of, like, canceled or, like, pitched and abandoned Godzilla movie ideas after this, and they just never panned out. Yeah, and it's like, and especially, like, once, like, Star Wars kind of hit, that was kind of like the sign that, like, Japan was not going to compete with Star Wars, and, like, that was,
oh sure,
nobody could. Yeah, I mean, well, we haven't. There's a gamer movie that we haven't done that tried to compete with Star Wars, and it was also the last gamer movie for about 20 years, so or less. I guess like 15. So yeah, so that was the history. So I guess you going into this fresh, what was your initial reaction?
These are the types of movies that I really like that, like I've said in previous episodes, I'm coming into the Godzilla series as more of a noob than, like, you're the seasoned vet and I'm your young boy, we definitely have a senpai-kopai relationship going on here.
I'm on top in this territory. Don't you forget it, kid.
Forget for sure. I'm not questioning that at all. I'm sort of the guy, next in line, and so that's our dynamic, and it works because I'm a big dummy and you're the smart guy who I just shut up and listen to. So this is the type of movie I like, though, because I like the 70s James Bond, Roger Moore movies. Like, I'm a sucker for those. I just love the aesthetic, and this sort of, like, everything that happens late 60s through probably, like, the early 80s has this, like, very timely aesthetic where there's tons of lights flashing everywhere. Everything has a button. Everything's oddly shaped. Like, nothing's, like, every room you're in has, like, this very weird vibe going on. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about these types of movies, is that they really have, like, this very distinct atmosphere and a very distinct style. Like, you get, like, super fast close-ups of, like, just random stuff for no reason at all. It's stuff that I really appreciate in movie making that you don't see anymore. Not that the stuff you see now is bad. I'm just saying the stuff that they did back here, it's like, oh man, you could tell that, like, everyone was just having a good time. Yeah,
the fashion game is on point in this.
First thing I pointed out, I was watching this. I was like, everyone looks like Antonio Inoki, and I love it. They have that, like, Elvis hair thing going on. And and it just worked for me. I'm like, nice sideburns, nice. I could surf on that wave in your hair.
Everyone's got these like sweet suits that have like sweet bell-bottom pants going. This is bell-bottom suit pants like going on.
Disco fever is going on.
Ichinosi, the like, I guess the main protagonist. He's like, there's like one scene too where he's like wearing this like tweed suit jacket that's like, but it's like young hip tweed suit jacket, and I was like, look at that thing. I wonder if like he just brought that from home.
Maybe. I mean, like, were they really like worried about like having like enough costumes for the cast, or was it more of a come as you are kind of vibe?
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, sign of the 70s, like, it's like the fact that we have 2 movies in a row where like Interpol is like the big badass organization of these movies. Like, you know, Interpol seems very cool. I just don't equate them to doing secret like espionage, counter alien missions. You know, it's like just not how I picture them, and I think it's like one of those things where we always have like the Secret Service and the FBI and the Men in Black and this, like, it's just like a shadowy organization that's sort of like, maybe Interpol's bigger on like the international level than other organizations are, and it's less controversial than maybe like the CIA or something like that, or the KGB or what have you. So maybe that's the route they were going for. Just like have it be like a shadowy spy organization, but you know, like a nice one. Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think for the most part, what Interpol I think primarily does is like they issue like red letter notices to countries, go like, hey, maybe you should like arrest this person. I don't think they actually do any of the arresting directly, but I don't know. It's just always like funny that it's like I like how these movies like. We now have like a bunch between 2 Mechagodzilla movies. We have like these like 5 or 6 like badass like Interpol agents who are like shooting aliens like in the throat like in every scene they're in, and I just go, this is quite a bit.
Yeah, getting to that, the scene where they chase down the guy who escapes and they surround him and then they just murder him in cold blood. Oh boy! Like, this is not a kids movie.
No, you don't. Yeah,
what a change in tone.
It's like the black hole aliens. Like, how many is it? It's like 5 or 6 of them that like surround that escaped prisoner, and then it's like they all shoot him to the point where I was looking at it going, wouldn't one of them just kind of miss and end up like hitting somebody else on the other side of the circle?
I thought about that too.
But hey, very that's like kind of like your first indication that. Yeah, we are not in Godzilla versus Megalon territory anymore. We are playing for keeps in this movie.
It got a big hearty laugh out of me.
And also it's nice that like this is the only Showa movie where like, you know, the aliens that invaded the movie before or previous movie are back. You know, like Nebula M Space Hunter gets referenced in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Megalon, I mean, but like they don't come back from Godzilla vs. GvK, but like this, they just go, nope, we're gonna try this again. We're gonna take 2 bites of the apple here. What are your thoughts on the third planet black hole aliens in there? Big return.
I'm down with the aliens being a part of this. I appreciate that you have underground societies, terrestrial societies, and then extraterrestrial societies. I like that a lot. If the MonsterVerse continues, I hope that, like you said, like there's something like that baked into it, because they have the Area 51 Monarch facility. So hopefully something there happens there with that. But I do enjoy that there are like all these different like sci-fi things going on. So every movie can have like a different aspect of it going on. It never has to be the same, but I thought they were good villains to have. They had a purpose, they had a goal in mind, and it made for a compelling movie.
Yeah, I think you know, the aliens from Planet X and the Kilax from Destroy All Monsters do a much better job of, kind of briefly taking over the world, but
Sure.
the black hole aliens, though, are like much more charismatic dickheads, which is makes them a little bit more entertaining to me. Like in the first movie, the dude's like drinking brandy and smoking cigars the whole time. This one, like, they're always like wearing like fancy shades
and more believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they were directed by Christopher Nolan instead of Tim Burton. You know what I mean?
I like the scene where the commander is complaining about how shitty like Earth travel is. Where they're like, "Oh, how was your flight to Tokyo?" And he's like, "Ugh, it sucks." Like all that stuff's a nice touch.
Peanuts?
Yeah. I think all that's a nice touch, But I don't know. Are they the biggest dicks in the Showa series? No. Wait, we talked about this already. Probably the guy from the Mothra movie is probably the biggest dick in the Showa series, but
yeah, the aliens from Planet X are probably number 2.
Yeah, they're just like matter of fact,
Well, they're just dangling the carrot. You know what I mean? Like, hey, give us Godzilla and Rodan, and we'll give you cure for cancer. And they're like, we try to take over your planet. We're just trying to rob you. They're just like con men,
Yeah, that's true. That's a pretty devious plan, Well, I guess also speaking of the human villains, do you have thoughts on Dr. Mifune?
I don't know. There's something very familiar in his eye. I don't know what it is.
He was also in the last movie too. He was like one of the good guy. He was the good guy scientist in the last movie.
Yeah.
Then
heel turn.
The best is like
just like my mom's ex-boyfriend in Under Siege 2.
That's a good ref.
Deep ref. No one's gonna get it except me.
I have met one of the stars of Under Siege 2. But
me
same
too.
guy.
My mom
same
made
guy. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. Same guy. The best is like when they're doing so Dr. Mifune. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you've probably seen this movie. But either way, for some quick background, like he's basically kicked out of the whatever university he's teaching at or whatever, like the scientific community. He's kicked out because like everyone thinks his ideas of. I don't think it's so much that he claims that he found a dinosaur, because I mean, like, Godzilla and shit are around, so that's not too crazy. But I think it's supposed to be more like the fact that he thought that he could like develop a way to control Titanosaurus, or at the time just his unnamed dinosaur, was like what gets him kicked out. But it's like when they're doing the flashback with like the still images, it's like first it's just like him kind of like looks like he's verbally arguing with like people like I don't know, conference hall or lecture hall or something like that, and then like it randomly like goes to like a still shot of like him being like tackled like in a lecture hall. It's like he's like literally having like the shit kicked out of him by like other scientists. It was like, what did he fucking say that was so offensive? Like, I guess when you get kicked out, you get like literally fucking kicked out.
A lot of kicking going on in this movie.
Yeah, maybe it's it's like you get the shit kicked out of you to get into the scientific community, and now we're gonna like kick the shit out of you on the way out. So like, and then it becomes really fucking bitter.
Just like the Best Friends game on Gang on 30 Rock.
Yeah. But yeah, he becomes like really fucking bitter from that, and then decides to, I don't know, use his dinosaur to, takes over this, what is supposed to be a docile dinosaur, and goes, I'm going to make you a killing machine.
Yep.
Real dick.
Like, people are trying to be like, hey, don't align with these aliens and use Titanosaurus for evil, because he's not evil. He's not like Ghidorah or all the other monsters that have come before that have caused destruction. Like, he's more like Godzilla, where he's protective and he's a good guy. Or they think he's a good guy. He's not. He hasn't done anything to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that, I don't know. We could talk about Ichinose, but, when he's such a fucking, like, he's like the Butters of, like, the fucking Godzilla franchise. He's such, like, a fucking clueless.
Oh, geez, Eric.
He's just so oblivious. to everything that's going on around him. Loves to just, blab all these secret plans to Katsura, who then, when one of their secret weapons against Titanosaurus gets sabotaged, she's like, I don't know who could have done that. But, so less fucking said about him, the better, outside of his tweed suit. But,
I guess killing Godzilla would be pretty good.
But I guess, Katsura is kind of like the main human character here, and she's like, switching heel and babyface throughout the movie.
Is she really a human character, though?
Oh, she's more cyborg than human, I guess.
I still love her.
It's the old was it the ship of Theseus? You keep replacing the planks on the ship, and when you replace all the planks, do you still have the original ship, or is it a whole new different ship? Is that what Katsura is?
Just like Gigan from that anime book.
Oh yeah. The reference there, because I feel like it's worth noting, is that in the Godzilla anime trilogy prequel books, is that Gigan starts off as like an organic creature, and every time he fights Godzilla basically blows like a different part of him off in the bill of pseudo, keep replacing him with the nano metal until ultimately he just kind of becomes like movie Gigan. And but yeah, pretty gruesome backstory for Gigan in the anime trilogy. Life is pain for Gigan in that trilogy, or the backstory anyway.
He's also a failed idol.
So I don't know. Did you like Katsura?
I thought all the characters in this movie were good. I liked how she wasn't a bad guy of her own will. She was sort of forced into it in a way, Like, it wasn't like that she was, cooperating. It was that she was basically killed and transformed.
Twice.
Yeah. So, not her fault. I thought that was compelling.
Yeah, it's pretty unique character for the Showa series, Yeah. Wish it was I wish, again, Ichinose wasn't such, a Butters. And then he could have had, a little bit more of, a developed story. I mean, he basically meets her once and goes, I'm in love with you. I'm going to share government secrets with you, person I barely know.
Yeah, that's, you're putting it on a pedestal, pal. Good alliteration, Chris. You left out the good word.
There you go. So if Butters wasn't so buttery, whatever, it's at the end she's like, that one stays. He's at the end he's like, oh, I won't kill you because you're a cyborg, I still love you. And she's like, okay, cool, and then kills herself. What a way to wrap that one up.
It's probably for the best, though. He was way too eager and needy for her,
Yeah. Yeah. Just, that he's
play it cool, man.
Yeah, that he's dumps her in a random field, basically. And I was like, is that just where you're gonna leave her? You gotta keep carrying her, or you just leave her in this field? What are you doing?
It's better than where he found her.
Yeah. But I guess the rest of the human side. So, good. All that shit's out of the way. We get to the meat and the potatoes of the monster side.
This is, once again, the Godzilla that I most equate to the Showa era. The design. I like this design a lot.
Yeah.
I also really like this Mechagodzilla design. Titanosaurus,
No? Our OIWF world champion didn't like the design?
No, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying,
All right. I like
that's not necessarily a negative. It's more of a middle of the road. Neither my favorite nor least favorite.
How would you describe his Titanosaurus's work rate? He can't rely on the flips and the beams.
Oh no, but he has his own. He has his own style. He has the tail that becomes a fan, and cools everybody off. He has a hell of a boot. He's the Pat McAfee of this of this genre. You know, kicks Godzilla. I don't mean 500 yards. Would you say?
It's a hell of a boot. Probably even more than that.
Kid. Yeah, he could go pro at that. You know, he doesn't need to be destroying cities. He could be kicking field goals.
Yeah.
That, you know, but like, you know, his mouth doesn't shut. It was like one of those things I noticed, that his mouth is always in like this open, derpy state, whereas Mechagodzilla and Godzilla have a much better, more sophisticated suit. It seemed like.
Yeah, I guess
Granted, they were using them, but they probably built the Titanosaurus one from scratch for this, and I'm guessing that just not as much effort was put into this one as the other ones, is what it came down to. It's still at its nice qualities though, like the retractable tail and original design and stuff. It wasn't bad.
I think is actually, I could be wrong, but I think they actually built a new Mechagodzilla suit for this movie.
Really?
I think so. I also know this suit,
the previous movie.
It does. I feel like it could be different. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's also like one of the only Showa suits that's like still surviving. It is like on display somewhere in Japan.
Yeah, I like this one. I feel like Kiryu and this Mechagodzilla are sort of like the best designs when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
and I probably go back and forth on Kiryu and Mechagodzilla. The Showa Mechagodzilla design as which one is the best.
Yeah, I think this one's my favorite. I think just because he's like, I don't know, he's like the walking war machine in this one. In this design.
Like, I do like this design. Like, don't get me wrong. I go back and forth. You know, it depends on what day of the week it is.
Yeah. In this movie, he's like, most of the fight is between like Godzilla and Titanosaurus, and
Mechagodzilla just sort of watches like he's Mil Muertes.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. He's in the Mil Muertes role, and he's just kind of letting Titanosaurus get all the heat on the baby face. I remember what I meant to ask you. In Godzilla King of the Monsters and the legendary Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think a lot of people would agree too that like the Godzilla's appearance in Boston, like where he blasts like King Ghidorah and then comes like storming into the scene, is supposed to be like an homage to Godzilla's appearance in this movie against where he blasts Titanosaurus like off screen, and then comes in. Did you get that vibes, and second, like, I think I had said to you offline before too that like I feel like the MonsterVerse borrows a lot tonally from this movie. Sure. I don't know. Just wondering which you thought on both of those points.
I didn't notice it until you pointed it out, and then I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I thought Godzilla showing up, his first appearance in this movie, was great. Titanosaurus is on like a controlled warpath, and Godzilla just shows up and blasts him off screen, knocks him down, and then you see like a silhouette of him, and then he kind of like slowly fades into seeing his face and stuff. And I was like, oh, that was a really nice visual effect for the time.
Yeah.
As it pertains to the MonsterVerse, like I said, I didn't notice until you pointed it out, but when you did point it out, like I went back and just saw that clip, and I was like, yeah, you're right about that. It's very similar.
Yeah.
MonsterVerse does a good job at paying homage to the history of Godzilla, and I think that's very good, because TriStar didn't really do that.
I think, I kind of feel like, MonsterVerse Godzilla, I feel like character-wise is fairly similar to like this version of Godzilla, where he's kind of like, he's like the hero, but he's like not like the super babyface hero that he is like in Megalon and stuff like that. He's a little bit more got like an edge to him and stuff like that. And I feel like character-wise, they're kind of similar. Like, especially in King of the Monsters. I think King of the Monsters, Godzilla, and Terror Mechagodzilla, I think are pretty similar character-wise to me. Like, I kind of look at it like the same way.
Yeah, and King of the Monsters does a great job of explaining it in one sentence. Thank God he's on our side. for now.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's basically what the Henry Saperstein 6-minute prologue basically does.
But like, yeah, you know, I like Godzilla when he's a bad guy and he's a force of nature and just like the ultimate destroyer. I like Godzilla when he's a good guy and he's like territorial and protective.
Yeah. I grew up on the, I mean, most of my first movies were like with more hero Godzilla, so I feel like I kind of more naturally just kind of gravitate towards like the 70s Godzilla, you know? It's just kind of...
Maybe that explains why I gravitate more to the bad guy Godzilla, because 85 was the first Godzilla movie I saw.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things, like, whatever your first Godzilla is
it imprints on
the
you.
one... Yeah.
we got like a yin-yang or spy versus spy thing going on, your white suit on black suit.
I was gonna more make a comparison to whatever the first Godzilla movie you see in your life is your Nick Totopoulos in the Godzilla animated series, and you are the baby Godzilla.
No.
Well, fine. I've had a lot of doozies this episode.
That was a good one. I just wanted to say no, just to be funny. But that was a good. God.
But I guess let's dive in. We've left the main event for the main event of this discussion. That quality fight scene to end the movie.
Well, if you're talking about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or are you talking about Titanosaurus first?
The whole thing. Once it starts, I view it all as one big big brawl.
Fair. Godzilla versus Titanosaurus. Titanosaurus kind of beats up Godzilla a lot. Obviously, Mechagodzilla helps, but Titanosaurus sort of always has the edge, and it's not until humanity sort of intervenes and tries to take away the mind control of Titanosaurus that Godzilla can really mount a comeback. And you know what this says to me? Expert psychology. It's not necessarily the greatest like fight, but it's well done. And the storyline, it all sort of comes together in this climax, and it makes sense and it's believable. And it just goes to show you, Austin and Rock drew 60,000 people and never came off the top rope. You know what I'm saying?
I will say, when I was a little kid and I watched, because I had like the Crestwood House, like the Ian Thorne Godzilla book, that little whatever, you know, the Crestwood House books. Yep. And like that book came out after Terror of Mechagodzilla, and it talks about Terror of Mechagodzilla. Oh no, I think it comes out it comes out. I think it was written maybe before Terror of Mechagodzilla comes out. But either way, it's like I had some understanding or at least at the time, that I thought Terror of Mechagodzilla was the last Godzilla movie ever. Like, I didn't know that, like, the series continued at this point, because I'm, like, brand new, like, to watching this as, like, a little kid. And even in the marathon, it was the last movie in the marathon. And so, when I was watching this...
When we were kids, there was no internet, so this was our source of information.
Right. And I'm 10, give me a break.
Yeah,
and I still vividly remember watching that as a kid, like, that part, like, where Mechagodzilla shoots... Godzilla with the missiles, like after like Titanosaurus is kind of beating him down, and like he just falls over. Like, I legit thought they killed Godzilla, and then like when they follow that up with because then he immediately gets buried after that. Titanosaurus punts him, and they cover him in dirt, and then and the way it worked in the TNT marathon, which I will never forget, is that like it's like they bury Godzilla, Titanosaurus comes over, draws like that line in the dirt, like where Godzilla is buried, and then it cuts to commercial, and I was like, they just killed him. He's dead. Like, because I figured, okay, it's the last movie, like maybe like he dies in this, and then yes, I popped big time when Godzilla blasts out of the dirt. I still remember that like feeling of like, and it was like kind of like a wrestling save too, right? Like instead of the glass breaking for Austin, he bursts out of the ground and
comes from the ring.
Yeah, blast Mechagodzilla in the in the head when he's about to blow up the the helicopter with the anti-Titanosaurus weapon. And when I was a kid, I was like, "This is fucking incredible! This is the greatest thing ever."
Well, like I said, this is good psychology for an unseen battle. It's not necessarily the most flashy, although I do think
when all the explosions start going off, like a Michael Bay film.
That's what I was going to say. Compared to like the MonsterVerse and stuff, is
Well,
the world. That's
yes.
the world we live in now, Chris. I'm sorry. But when Godzilla gets out of his taking his dirt nap, and he's zombie Godzilla now. I'm saying he's dead, and now he's zombie Godzilla. Mechagodzilla is shooting at him, and this is sort of like the big scene in the movie. You get so many explosions, so many lights. It's just sort of, this is like the Flash. This is what the end of that AEW pay-per-view should have been.
Yeah.
You also get like a couple seconds of Godzilla's spines just completely engulfed in flames.
Yeah, the suit is literally on fire at one point, and I forget the suit actor's name because this was his only time playing Godzilla. I was like, that dude's got to run around with the Godzilla suit like on fire.
Right.
Like,
and I did
absurd.
notice that this Godzilla was a little different than previous incarnations because when he first shows up, he like sort of like puts up his dukes, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not very similar to how he's been before. He's got way more of a, he like pounds his chest and puts up his dukes, and he's ready for a brawl.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name, but
previous-
he was a suit actor in like Ultraman, and he didn't play Ultraman, but he played like Ultraman in other like enemy kaiju and stuff, and where like that style, like you could tell he's coming from that style.
Yeah.
And bringing it in, but I think it works here. Yeah, it works here.
But like at the end, like Godzilla is like just basically running towards Mechagodzilla as Mechagodzilla is just firing everything he has at Godzilla, and that's sort of the highlight of the action scene for me is this long shot that's shot in slow mo. You get Godzilla on fire, and then when he gets to Mechagodzilla, he's like all smoky, and oh my god, what a consistent shot! That was good for this time,
Yeah.
like, you know, like because they could very easily could have just cut and had him not smoky, but they had a really smoky thing going on there, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it went out because his spine shut it off screen. You're like, they didn't have to explain it. I just get it.
Yeah, I like how like once he finally, well, yeah, I agree with you. Like the whole idea of like Mechagodzilla just hitting him with like all this barrage of shit, and he's like, and like you could tell the suit. I was sitting there going like, there's so much fire and explosions going off around this guy. Like that suit must weigh like 200 pounds, like they all do. It must be hot as shit as it already is, and like you were just surrounded by like, yeah. And then like when Godzilla finally gets through, I love that it's like just a whole series of like punches like right to like Mechagodzilla's like ribs and chest, just like rapid fire. And I was like, okay, that's very satisfying. Like when that happens.
I do appreciate this movie having Godzilla being the better brawler, where Mechagodzilla had the better long-range effects.
Yeah.
Whereas in, you know, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mechagodzilla is just Godzilla is superior in every way.
Right.
I like the idea of one of them having the edge in one form of combat, while the other one has the edge in another.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was much better done in the last Mechagodzilla movie. It was like, you know, Mechagodzilla brawls like a little bit more. I agree. I think it works better at like this. He's like, you know, it really like kind of gets like a Titanosaurus like an opportunity to be like the close range kaiju, and then, you know, Mechagodzilla is just there to like pepper in from afar. It's good. It makes sense. Good psychology, as you said. Good booking. Who's the agent on this?
And they didn't need color for this match to work either, like the previous movie. There's a time and place in every world where you need to get a little bit of color to really sell it, but this movie didn't really need it, so they didn't go there, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it makes the previous movie better.
It's,
so this movie does a good job at making the other movie look better than it needed to, you know?
Yeah. It's funny because granted they are people in suits, but if there was ever a movie where I thought blood was going to be drawn the hard way, I think it would be this one. So I'm going to guess there was blood. I'm going to guess it was all internal.
Sure. I mean, he did get buried, so.
Yeah. And then he gets like jumped on while he's buried, which was also pretty good.
I think that's why people like Titanosaurus so much, is that he was just like such a dick when he was mind controlled.
Yeah.
It wasn't naturally like that. He was just forced into being it, much like the cyborg girl. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry.
Katsura.
Thank you. Also, we haven't talked about this yet, but I lost it. Give me 1 second. In my mind, this isn't really Titanosaurus. This is really the first appearance of Godzilla Aquatus.
Oh, I see that has been spoiled for you. I don't know if that's even a spoiler. If like the whole internet, runs with like a theory that's like never been confirmed or anything like that, and then like just nonchalantly merchandise is released that disproves that theory. Is that really a spoiler, or is that more just like... Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet, so it's to me, it's not spoiling anything. You're just naming something, so
whatever. Yeah. Well, believe me, when you see it, it's really not even disguised as a spoiler when you do see it. So
okay.
But and I also want to believe Titanosaurus doesn't die at the end of this movie. I want to think that like he took that blast, falls into the water, and just he's gotta go lick his wounds somewhere. But he's not in Destroy All Monsters, which is canonically the true end of the Showa series, even though it came out years before. But in the timeline, it's the last movie. He's not in that, so maybe he's just hiding really well. Maybe that's what he's doing.
Well, maybe he went back, since he's not mind controlled anymore. He's back to being his docile self. He's not getting involved. He's the Switzerland of kaiju.
Yeah, Kong's not in Destroy All Monsters either. He's probably not dead in the Toho world.
He's on Skull Island.
Yeah, no, Faroe Island in the Toho world.
Faroe, sure. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That sort of wraps everything up for me in a nice little package. What about you?
Same. Although we gotta reference or I gotta at least reference the really awesome scene where Mechagodzilla blows up like an entire city set with his revolving missiles.
Oh yeah.
That scene. I must have, like, when I was a little kid, I probably rewound and watched that scene like 100 times. Mechagodzilla just standing at the end of like a long miniature set, and then like shoots his finger missiles.
And that's worth mentioning.
It just blows up like the whole miniature set.
And it was a good miniature set too.
Yeah.
The end of the Showa series, especially that one scene, the dam scene in the Megalon movie, really had some very great-looking miniature sets getting destroyed.
Yeah. Well, that was like pretty much the only original miniature scene in that movie, so that's where it all went.
But same thing for this movie. Like, I thought the effort that went into designing those miniatures was really something to really respect, and I just love how all this hard work just goes towards destroying it. It's something I just love about this.
I guess we should also wrap up with there's a false finish in this fight where Godzilla rips off Mechagodzilla's head.
Oh yeah,
and you're thinking, oh, that's how he did it last time, and he's like, nope, gotcha.
He's got a little light bulb thing going on.
And I like that. I like that was a nice little like the false finish homage there. So
sure, he has his own little effect that he can shoot out.
Yeah, that's in the so we were talking about it in one of our group chats. Like, I have the PS4 Godzilla game, which I've actually, since we were talking about it recently this week, I started to go back and play it more, and it's actually. It's not the greatest, but it's I'm like playing through it with like a lot of different kaiju now, which like I didn't really do before. Like, it's actually pretty much, it's a lot more fun when you do that. And like there's Mechagodzilla and Mechagodzilla 2, both Showa. Well, every Mechagodzilla is in the game, but like you also get 2 Showa ones, and like the only significant difference between Mechagodzilla and Mechagodzilla 2 is that you get the revolving missiles in addition to the regular figure missiles, but also if you lose too much health, you can actually blow off the head and reveal like that like little orb thing and fire that off. So
That's the great detail. I don't care. I don't care how bad the game is. Like, when you do stuff like that, you're heading in the right direction.
The game's not. I don't know. Have you ever played it? I think I've showed it to you, probably.
You showed it to me. You've definitely showed it to me. I've seen it at your house, but I've never played it. On my own, you know.
Yeah, it succeeds way too well in being a movie simulator. Like, it's like the fights are just like how they look in movies. Like the effects. I mean, like, it is super detail oriented. Like very like it is filled with obscure references. Like, but that does not translate to necessarily the most fun gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like the problem. So it's like, and also it needs like, it has like 2 game modes. Like you need more. It has like a story mode, and then it kind of has like almost like a rush mode where you fight 6 random kaiju in a row, but still has an online server that's up, and there's always people playing it. Good. And like whenever I go on, I get my ass kicked, and I go like, and it'll say like, you know, it'll say like I have like 15 wins, and it's like everyone I get matched with, it'll be like, oh, like this person has 3,000 wins, and this like literally in the thousands, and I go, oh my god, that is like,
well, like, they've been playing it for years.
It apparently all day.
Yeah.
Like that's because like that takes a lot of time to get those. So
no, if you're getting into, trust me, if you're getting into the thousands, I have trouble getting to like 50 like matches if I play like a game like that. You know, I never play it for very long. It's always instant gratification for me. So,
yeah.
Like, long term playing that game and honing your skills, I respect that.
Yeah, like yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I'm definitely not knocking it, as I figured out earlier today. Approximately how many hours I have sunk into Fire Emblem Heroes, which is the mobile gacha Fire Emblem game, and I have figured out that I have probably put in over 400 hours in that game in the past 4 years. So,
like, in that same amount of time, I've had Breath of the Wild going, and I've 100% of that game. Like, I got all 900 Kuroks. 900 little things that you find randomly throughout the world. And the world is massive. And I think I put in between 100 and 150. And I played that game a lot. So you play way more games like that than I do.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, with Fire Emblem Heroes, it's, you know, I play 15 to 20 minutes a day because, you know, it's a mobile gacha game. Right. It keeps you coming back. And the game's been out for 4.5 years. And I've been playing it since day one. So
you play fewer games more regularly, and I play more games less consistently.
Yes.
Is how I would describe it. And probably, if you're playing for 400 hours in one game, you're probably playing a little bit more than I do, because there are times where I go like weeks and months without playing a game. Yeah.
Well, that was the video game portion of the pod. So,
yeah. We're spitfiring on the fly.
Shall we rank this one up?
Yeah, let's rank it. In my wrestler comparison, this is Vince versus Undertaker in a buried alive match with Kane as Titanosaurus standing over Undertaker's buried body.
Oh, well, I guess that's better than Undertaker versus Mankind with the Executioner. So.
I'm surprised neither of us picked Yokozuna. We were both in the same ballpark, though. Well, 1 to 5. 1 is a jobber, 5 is a main eventer. The 3 in between numbers are various degrees of mid-card, 2 low, 3 medium, 4 high. You go first. I've gone first more recently.
Yeah, I mean, no brainer for me. This is a 5-star main eventer for me. Star. Yeah, this is a main eventer for me. I loved this. This movie got me hooked when I was a kid. I love going back to this movie. I love the fight at the end. You know, I'm a big 70s Showa Godzilla guy. This movie hits in all the right places for me.
First time I watched this movie, I was going to give it a 3. I rewatched it again a second time. 4.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's very good. watch it twice because there's a chance you'll find little things that you'll appreciate more in the second watch through. I definitely thought the end fight scene I appreciated way more the second time around.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the first time I appreciated like all the random little human things like the murder and the suicides and the doctor dying and the doctor being the guy Serizawa from the first movie. Like little things that you get the second time through that you didn't pick up on the first time really made the movie better for me. So I'm going to say strong 4.
Yeah, it's good. And so this ranking wades off into the sunset like Godzilla does at the end of Terror of Mechagodzilla. But I didn't say this in the trivia part, but I don't know if you caught that Godzilla looks a little goofy in that scene where he's going off into the water. That's because they used a promotional Godzilla suit that was not meant for filming, which also is I think it's the same suit that was used for 2 scenes in the last Mechagodzilla movie, where his jaw doesn't even move and stuff like that. They used that as the water suit.
I noticed something like that, but I just figured it was because they didn't want to waterlog the suit anymore.
That's what they usually. That they usually use a different suit, and I guess that was just the only one they had sitting around was that promotional suit. But I think that's also a sign that, if they knew it was the last movie, they probably wouldn't have cared, and they probably would have used the regular suit. But when you don't know what the future holds,
I'll disagree with you. I think you got to maintain that last suit as long as you can.
Yeah,
and you really got to make it a part of cinematic history.
Which they didn't.
It's a shame that they didn't do that, but obviously different culture now surrounding it than was back then. Back then they're whatever, these movies aren't making money anymore, fuck them. Whereas now we definitely have more appreciation for the classics,
Yeah, it's I think,
and you never know you're making a classic when you're making it either.
Yeah.
Too, so.
I think the only Showa stuff that there's small little bits of Showa stuff that's surviving outside of the Mechagodzilla 2 suit. I think there's a couple heads from Ghidorah from the Ghidorah suit in Godzilla vs. Gigan. I think they still exist in very dilapidated form. But the way they made those suits too, they eventually just rot anyway. So it's hard. The Mechagodzilla suit too. If you see up close pictures of it, they've definitely maintained it and repaired it and stuff, but it's it still has cracks running all through it and stuff. But looks
my WWF LJN figures that you see in the background here. You get sometimes you get some mold inside of them. There's nothing you can do about it.
I was gonna say they look I don't know if you'll get this reference, but they look like Optimus Prime in that old Transformers episode where they find the ghost of Optimus Prime, or zombie Optimus Prime on the graveyard ship. Kind of looks like that at times.
Okay. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
I got a question for you, and I'm not quite sure how to ask you, so I'm just going to blurt it out.
Don't be shy.
Well, the thing is, did you get any figs this week?
I did. I sure did. See, that wasn't too bad.
Oh, me too. I'm so relieved.
I got figs and a comic book.
Oh, my.
I got the Godzilla Dominion, Godzilla vs. Kong prequel graphic novel. It's cool, I guess. It's totally you. I don't know. Do you have any interest in this book at all? Are you familiar with it at all, or heard anything about it? I have
interest in it, but I'm not familiar with it. Explain it to me.
It's not So it takes place between King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's I don't know. I didn't realize that it was going to be entirely from Godzilla's point of view for the most part, which is a cool take, but it's also very much it's a day in the life of Godzilla, just patrolling the waters, keeping the Titans in check, getting into some fights, fighting around the world like Russell Crowe. I won't because it is so new and people are still buying it. I won't spoil the story, but
sure.
It is essentially Godzilla kind of it's like, what does Godzilla do day to day? And it does provide some like I guess some like good backstory between King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong, like, basically because like his underground temple got blown up, when Sarazawa had to go to revive him. It's like, he doesn't like really have like an ideal place to just kind of rest, and he's kind of like on a quest to kind of find a place to lay his head at night, when he's done doing his stuff. And like it touches on like a little bit of like the backstory between like Godzilla and Kong, or at least like their species, but like not in any great detail that could like be contradicted by like the movie or anything like that. And I think some of what happens in this comic is covered in like the novelization, I guess, but I don't know. I haven't read the novelization, so I don't really know. But I've
heard people say good things about the novelization.
Yeah, it sounds like it fleshed out things that like we kind of wish were fleshed out, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest into like tie-in comics and graphic novels and stuff, but I would say I don't know. It's a nice little companion piece, I guess. So
sure.
I don't know if I'll get the Kong one, but this was good. The art is the art's good. There's a couple panels that was kind of like, what the hell's going on here in this panel? But for the most part, the art's pretty good. It's I'm kind of like out of touch with modern comics, so I don't know. Okay. It seems like things get a little bit more. It seems to be like the very few modern comics I read are like not anything like this, but like I don't know. I kind of feel like there's like a new way to approach. Like comic panels just seem so busy now. Sometimes, and I feel like you kind of look at them and go like, what the shit's going on here? But I only had that issue with like a couple panels here, but I don't know. It's good. If you want to get your Godzilla versus Kong tie-in stuff, have at it. Well, I didn't get it, but I feel like I have to talk about the pre-order for that Mezco Godzilla Monster Island set that I sent you the links to it. And God, that thing is so ridiculous. It's like these super articulated, like 5-inch figures. It's like everybody who is in Destroy All Monsters, except for Varan and Manda, which sucks. But like, I don't know if you looked at it when I sent you the links, but it was like one set has like Godzilla and Anguirus and Rodan and or whatever. I got both sets, so I don't remember who's in what set. But like, but it's like, like Godzilla has like interchangeable heads. Anguirus has like interchangeable heads. Godzilla has like interchangeable hands. Like most of the monsters in the set, like if they have like a breath attack, like you get a breath attack attachment. And I like first I just bought like the set that had like Godzilla and Anguirus and Rodan and stuff, because the other one had like King Ghidorah and Minula and stuff, and I was like, whatever, like, not the cheapest sets on the planet. I was like, whatever, I'll just pre-order the one that has more stuff that I like. And then the second I did it, I was like, what are you doing? You can't have half the set. So I immediately pre-ordered the second set, and I don't think those are supposed to come till like, it says like shipping is like somewhere between like November to the end of 2021. So but I'm very much looking forward to one day when those just show up in the mail, and I go, well, what a nifty little surprise.
Remind me how much that was.
It was essentially $100 a set, so $200 altogether.
Not unreasonable.
Yeah. For what you get, like
multiple,
super articulated. You're essentially getting.
You're buying
Godzilla,
bulk,
Rodan, Minya. Oh wait, sorry, I said that twice. Godzilla, Anguirus, Rodan, Mothra, Minya, King Ghidorah, Gorosaurus, Baragon. I think that's it. I think you get 8 altogether. I could have missed. Do you get Kumunga too? So you might get like 10, up to 10 figures, 5-inch, highly articulated figures. And it's some of them with like interchangeable parts.
So like mathematically, I'm equating this to doing more of like WWE Elite style figures where you get like additional options, or like AEW figures where you get new hands or accessories, or what have you, alternate heads.
Maybe it's about $20. $20 a figure, I guess it breaks down.
So that's not unreasonable at all. I remember I saw this when you sent it to me. I might not have like commented or anything like that because sometimes I half pay attention. I'm sorry, but these did look cool. It's just I'm not gonna. And my situation's different from yours, and I'm not gonna spend $200 on figures at once right now. Maybe in the future. Yeah,
I think that's a set for the hardcore collector. I think that's what that is. That is not to entice the casual Godzilla fan. Not to say you're a casual.
I'm somewhere in between casual and hardcore.
I would say on the collector side, you're probably more on the casual side of the collecting side.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But whereas, for me, it's
no, you're hardcore.
Struggle every day. It's a struggle every day. So,
like I said, you are senpai and I'm kohai. That's just the way it is here.
So that will come sometime at the end of the year. One more thing before I get to something that we both got is that I got the Playmates Burning Godzilla. We were talking a lot about this offline. This is a really good Playmates figure. Playmates did a really good job with this Burning Godzilla figure.
We've always been very honest about our opinions on Playmates here, and Jax too, meaning that we criticize them when we need to. But honestly, like, they've upped their game. Like, they're getting better.
Yeah, I think most, and we have another Playmates release we're going to talk about in a minute. Like, a lot of their recent releases have been really good. It's just, it's so hard that like they have that stink of like the first run on them, and it's like, because I feel like once you get past that Shin Godzilla and Space Godzilla and Destroya, like, it's only gotten better. But
you ever go out on a date and like the first date's kind of like it doesn't go very well, but then like it was a victim of circumstance, so you go to a second one and it works out way better.
Yeah.
Just play along here. That's kind of what this is.
Well, I was thinking about most of the ones that I've been in that situation, then end poorly. But ultimately, yeah.
Well, the future has not been written.
So I have this right here in front of me. It's like the mold is like really good.
Agreed.
I don't know. Like I was, the only thing, and I think you would agree too, is like the burning design is, as you put it, it looks like Godzilla's wearing a burning bikini, because that's really what it looks like. It really does. And like, then like on like his kind of like knee thigh area, there's, I don't know, it's just weird kind of flame designs on it. It's not bad, it's just kind of goofy.
Yes, exactly. And I would still put this in the recommend file, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to be cheap enough to where if you see it at a store and it's there, I mean, why wouldn't you get it, in my opinion?
It's very detailed. It's painted well. The only other thing that's a little weird is that like the plastic or vinyl, whatever this is, when you get to the ends of like Godzilla's hand, like his fingertips and like the bottom, like the tips of his feet and a little bit on the head, it starts to kind of like they use like some like purple plastic going on. So, but it's like, if from far away you don't notice it, if you hold it up close you kind of notice it. I think it's supposed to kind of be like, rather than painting like Godzilla's claws, they just use some purple plastic thing going on. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal because you barely notice it. But it's just, like I said offline, it was like Playmates just can't resist having Playmates get up a little bit with somewhere with this figure. But no, if this is what they keep churning out, then it's going to become a very good toy line. This is I don't know if I would call it their best figure yet, but way up there though.
I think we'll talk about their best figure next.
Yes. Well, yeah. So let's get into it. You can lead the way for us on that.
Okay. So I got to congratulate Playmates for finally creating some FOMO on me. The Hong Kong Godzilla, we both got it. So I got this week, and I'm glad I did because, like, it's not a perfect figure, mind you. Like, the head kind of sticks out a little too far from the body. Like,
mine does too. I was going to ask you if yours did that.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal. Like, it's barely noticeable unless you're up close to it. But this figure is basically a translucent plastic, and then it's painted over. So like throughout the body, Godzilla is like translucent, and like sort of like how his atomic breath is. It's like the same sort of material. It's like translucent blue, and that's the base they use, and then they just paint it over it. And overall, I just love this figure. The coloring's great. I like the purple and the blue spines. I like how the chest is blue and translucent, so to sort of create more of an effect with the atomic breath. Whereas like the rest of the body has like black painted over it, just to give it that really nice, convincing aesthetic. I know we've praised the Gigan figure as clearly being the best Playmates figure up to this point, but I kind of like this one better just because it's so different and it's so out there, and I just kind of love it. I don't know how you. I don't know
really
how you feel,
creative.
But, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I mean, it is still kind of coming off like the regular legendary style mold. I think that's it's not the most. Let's play this. Doing this figure makes that mold look the best because it's and it's also like a super creative idea. I like cool paint variants like this, and I like that it's just not like, hey, we just made him like translucent blue. Like, there's a reason to it. It's because he's supposed to be in Hong Kong, surrounded by lights.
Right. He did appear this way in a movie, so it's not like a made-up design or anything like that. This is like an official design. Yeah,
right. And so, I think it is actually probably. I think it's definitely in the. I don't know what I could say is the best figure off the top of my head. But
it's my favorite. Maybe that's a more appropriate term.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Like, I think it's also one of my favorites. When I kind of said this, Burning Godzilla is like one of the best. I kind of more meant from like, like design. It doesn't have any obvious blemishes. Like, the detail is there. Like, they just screw anything up.
it's closer to Gigan than it is to Shin and Space Godzilla.
Right. I wouldn't, even though I think it's one of the best, I wouldn't call it like my favorite. I like the Hong Kong Lights Godzilla figure better than the Burning one. But I mean, of like there's whatever these are, 6 inches or so, like they're getting a lot better. And then even like I have the giant Mechagodzilla and the Mechagodzilla that like roars and lights up, and it's like those are like all like really good. Like they're polishing up their game on all fronts.
Yeah,
keep at it. At it, Playmates.
From where we were a year ago to where we are now, like Playmates is, I wouldn't call it a complete 180, but they're so much further on track than where I thought they'd be at this point. I thought this line might have been a disaster.
Yeah, and especially because like they're $9 figures too.
Right.
Like it's that really they get bonus points for that. Neither of us have the 6-inch Mechagodzilla, and that seems like a really, really good, very articulate. I like that it has like the 6-inch Mechagodzilla. I like that it looks like it has like ball joints everywhere, kind of like the King Kong figure does.
Yeah.
So it can be like superposable and like
And that's the other thing too. Like those Kong figures are well made.
Yeah, like we just got a Bandai Kong figure, and I have that. And while I do like it, like when I compare it next to the Playmates Kong figure, like the Playmates Kong figure I think is way better. And the Playmates Kong figure is like superposable and like looks cool and all that stuff. So
comes with the axe. Like the previous one that they put out was just very basic, but the King of the Monster, not the King, the Godzilla vs. Kong one they put out, very good. So they've really been up in their game in the past like year or so, especially with the movie line, like really showing that they can create like quality figures at extremely affordable prices. If you're lucky enough to find them, of course, is the problem now.
Yeah, I mean the Walmarts around us are filled with Kongs with battle axes, and one of like, the first like legendary Godzillas, either like the Tower one or the last one, but we haven't really been getting in anything else. So also I'm sick of driving to Walmart every weekend, and they may resort to slightly inflated prices online if I have to, but
that's what I did with this one. I couldn't find this in stores, so I bought it online, and the markup was to the point where I was like, that's not bad, and then the shipping was reasonable too, so I spent under $20 on this. So I spent about
Yeah, I don't mind spending, like, if it's a $10 figure and I spend $20, that's fine with me.
Just if you can't find it in the stores and you need it, sometimes it's what you got to do.
Yeah, going to the Walmarts around us is like can be like one of the most frustrating things on the planet. So
I feel like
so
they've
sometimes
really
an
dropped
extra
in the past
$10 is not worth avoiding my frustration. So
yeah, especially since we don't live close to one, they're all probably like 5-10 miles away average.
Yeah,
so like you gotta make a trek to get there, and then when you get there and it's disappointing, you kind of lose your faith after a while, and it keeps on happening over and over and over again. You're like, I'm not gonna come back and do this again.
It's fun to hunt, but like at the same time too, like just doing that like repeated loop becomes like less enjoyable. I'm glad that Jaguar and Burning Godzilla is supposed to be in Target, because going to Target's like a much more pleasant experience than going to Walmart. So
yeah, we're closer to Targets than we are to Walmart, so it's easier for us.
You can buy cat litter while I'm at Target, so it's not like a failed trip whenever I go.
You can also buy 12 packs of these watermelon White Claws, which are fantastic. The thing I like about these is that they're a combination between actual watermelon flavor and candy watermelon flavor. It's like a nice middle ground. I like both, so this is really good.
That's funny. I'm not having any claws this episode. You're drinking all the claws this episode.
We switched.
It's a little bit of a role reversal this week.
It's sort of like how Chris Jericho and William Regal switched bodies from WrestleMania 17. Now Chris Jericho is kind of doughy and William Regal's in shape. Anyways, is that our figure segment?
That's all I got.
That's all I got too. I just got the one figure. I'm like you said, I'm more casual in my collecting than you are, but I like to try to have something every week, or try to. So hopefully next episode we'll have something fresh for you on my end. But moving on to our final segment.
You're in the kayfabe zone.
Yeah. From here on out, it's a shoot, brother. This is the OIWF segment of the podcast. We save the best for last, and since you're still with us, thank you.
One day we'll record like an intro theme to this segment, just to truly signify that we are in the kayfabe zone.
Right, today is Thursday, and this podcast comes out on Monday. Maybe. We'll see. Anyways, stuff happened in the OIWF this week. Big stuff. Big things.
Start with the big story. Titanosaurus is regained the Odo Island Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship in a bloodbath. Brutal. Probably the most brutal contest yet in the OIWF.
Sure. When I saw the carnage, I was just shocked at the lengths these two athletes would go to win the championship. Titanosaurus, our first 2-time champion.
Yes, it's if you didn't hear it last episode and you're newer to the OIWF and our Twitter, the background to that is that Titanosaurus revealed that Playmates Gigan had paid off Bandai Mechagodzilla to disguise himself as the special guest ref, cheat his way to the OIWF title, and Titanosaurus wanted it back. And Playmates Gigan and Titanosaurus met in is that our first no DQ match? I think it was, and it was
We've had other matches where no disqualifications were part of it, but this is the first specifically no disqualification.
Sure,
match.
That's right. I forgot that we explicitly spoke about that in some of our earlier matches that were like triple threats and stuff like that. But both men wearing a crimson mask, or both kaiju wearing a crimson mask by the end of it. But at the end of the day, vicious tail drop from the top rope with Gigan's head in a trash can, placed on a bridge, really put the exclamation point on that victory. And also, it was even though it was a bloodbath, it was a good, clean victory. No outside interference from the Cursed Order on this one, but just two figures.
Gigan instructed the Cursed Order to stay back, and he wanted to do it alone.
Yeah, and he came close. But at the end of the day, Titanosaurus is the champ again. We will have to see what's next for him and what's next for Playmates Gigan. I
have a feeling
we'll see.
We'll hear more about them in the coming weeks. I've also gotten word that there is a debuting kaiju coming soon to the OIWF. So a new fighter has entered the fight. But also, we also had some prelim matches. Bandai Godzilla Earth, part of our Mid-Atlantic division, still stewing over his steel cage loss to Kamada-kun, who is apparently dead.
Could be.
He's
hasn't been heard from since that scaffold match.
Been MIA ever since. No one knows where or when we will see him again. But still stewing over that loss was Bandai Godzilla Earth. Open challenge. However, the stipulation was he requested a steel cage open challenge. So we had our second ever steel cage match, and Jack's Pacific Battle Pack Mothra accepted. However, things did not turn out well for Bandai Godzilla Earth, as Mothra flew into the cage, the bell sounded, and then she flew out of the cage, winning the match. Both feet landing on the floor, as Godzilla Earth could do nothing but watch and stew and defeat some more. Yeah,
that's what happens. It's when you issue an open challenge like that. You're never gonna know what you're gonna get, and come back to haunt you. And that's what happened here.
Godzilla Earth may have put his foot in his mouth this time, but I have a feeling he'll be back and issuing more competent challenges with more restrictive fighters in mind in the future.
Yes. Well, hopefully whatever that open challenge is isn't tailor-made for another kaiju. So.
But like I said, he'll learn from his mistakes, and maybe he's a little bit of a greenhorn, but he'll come back, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him in the Mid-Atlantic division.
Yeah, the Mid-Atlantic division heating up right now, and Mothra, as you said, moving up the ranks. Could a title match be in the future? We will find out.
And we don't discriminate here. Boy and girl kaijus are treated equally. We don't, they're all competing for the same titles.
They're all plastic figures.
Yes.
So
they're all in it. We also have some new matches coming up this week. We'll also hear more from the Cursed Order and Gigan. I hear he's not been taking the loss well, but hopefully he'll come around soon.
Yeah, well, hopefully Playmates Godzilla can cheer him up or something. Keep spinning his head around a little bit, cheer him up.
Well, I don't think he can spin his head back is the problem. I think NECA version 2 Shin Godzilla really messed him up, which is unfortunate because he's just a lovable loaf.
I mean, there must be some sort of surgery. Maybe he needs like a fig bath. Maybe to loosen up those neck joints and get his head back or something. I don't know.
They've tried it, and apparently nothing's taking.
Well, that's too bad.
They say he just might like it that way.
He could, yes. Well, is there any other happenings in the OIWF?
Well, there's also the matter of our tag titles and Mid-Atlantic Championship. Since the World Championship has been defended, it's time to move on back to the Tag Team Championships, which need to be defended. Trendmasters of the Universe still with a stranglehold over the tag division, dominating teams. That every team that has come their way, they have just decimated. Chris, do we have any new challengers?
I think we will have a number one contenders tag team match this week. I think, in their last encounter, they came up short, the Mecha Bros, Mechagodzilla 2, and Kiryu, they will go against two other figures, to be determined.
How titillating.
Yes, could be a new team, could be could be another team. I got to think about that. But we'll see who's still under contract, and who's out there, who's available.
You could tell.
So number one contenders tag team match coming this week.
What's this? I have something in my ear. Hold on. You're kidding me. I've just received breaking news.
Yes. Go on.
Our returning superstars comeback is imminent. They haven't told me who it is, but they said someone who we've seen in the past, but not for a while, is returning.
Oh, wow. That must have been Lee Marshall in your ear with calling you from the hotline.
1-900-909-9900. Kids, get your registration before calling. 89 cents the first minute, 169 every minute after that.
Well, we will look forward to seeing who that is that makes their imminent return. It could actually be like a dozen different figures at this point.
It could be anybody. We haven't seen some competitors since the original tournament to crown the OIWF championship. So maybe there's something to that.
Maybe.
Well,
get some new blood in here, shake things up.
Well, that's all I got for OIWF shenanigans this week.
Well, as we leave the kayfabe zone, all there is to figure out what we're going to do next week, and we're changing up our next episode in 2 weeks. And we're changing up how we're going to do that.
Since we've done two movies consecutively with Mechagodzilla, we're taking a little bit of a break from him. We love you, Booby, but we got to mix things up here. We can't do things over and over and over again like the Legendary series. We gotta try new things. So it's a showcase between other things. And whatever. We made a list of a whole bunch of different topics and movies. And I am going to randomize them in Excel right now, live on the air. I have run the randomizer formula. I am now going to rank them. Oh. Okay. Do you want the top three, or just want to know what won? Give me the top three. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. So third was Godzilla versus Barkley, which would be fun to cover. Number 2 was the rest of the Gamera trilogy. So we've watched Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, but we have not watched, for this podcast, we have not watched Gamera 2, The Advent of Legion, or Gamera versus Iris, which is Gamera 3. But probably going to be a lot more Gamera in our future, so we'll pass on that anyway. But number 1, this should be interesting. It is Gorgo. Are you familiar with the movie Gorgo? Yeah.
Heard of it, never seen it.
Oh, it's that would be an interesting one to do. That's some good history there. It's God, I haven't watched that movie in forever, but I recently bought a VCR and I found all my old like VHS tapes and stuff, and I have Gorgo on VHS, so that's probably how I'll watch it to get that classic experience. Nice. So yeah, we're really branching out for that one. Actually, that's probably not true. I'll probably watch it on my tablet. But yeah, cool. We're gonna do Gorgo next.
Yeah, it's nice to talk about Godzilla a lot, but it's also nice to branch out and talk about other things, because we'll always have Godzilla to come back to.
Listen, I will just still talk about Godzilla every day in my personal life anyway, so it's not like it stops for me.
Yeah. And I have a pretty hefty NECA collection where I look at them every day, so...
I always hear like other podcasters or YouTubers and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with this, who always say like, oh, sometimes it's nice to have like a little break from Godzilla, and I don't really know what that concept is, because like I literally, when I am at home, I just have Godzilla movies playing in the background. Like, that's not like a joke. That's just like,
no, that's
sometimes just put them on.
Some people put on like a record to soothe them. You put on Godzilla movies.
Yeah, or in some cases, I put on a record about Godzilla, like that random ass like Godzilla record I bought last year. But
well, for me, it's usually Frasier or a baseball game. No, when basketball's on, I put that on. Yes. Niles'
But
Beaujolais
anyway.
is both fruity and precocious. I'll tell you something else that's fruity and precocious.
Well, with that, do you have anything to say before we leave?